Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UHS Retribution. The massive human warship floated in space near the neutral moon of Kepler 7. Through the main screen, she could see the alien ships arriving for the peace talks. Her hands gripped the metal railing as she watched the strange vessels approach. The war had lasted 30 years. 30 long years of death and destruction across the galaxy. Human colonies had burned. Alien worlds had been reduced to ash. Millions had died on both sides. Now finally there was a chance for peace. 3 alien races had come to negotiate. The Veltar looked like living crystals that walked on 2 legs. Their ships sparkled like diamonds in the starlight. The Zephyrians were a hive mind that controlled millions of bug-like creatures. Their vessels looked like giant insects made of metal. The Corvin Collective sent ships that seemed to change shape as they moved. Controlled by advanced computer minds. "Admiral, the alien delegates are ready to board," said Lieutenant Morrison, her communications officer. "Let them come," Chen replied. She had fought these aliens for most of her adult life. Now she had to shake their hands and pretend to trust them. The meeting room was large and cold. The human delegation sat on one side of a long table. The aliens sat across from them. Between them lay the peace treaty, written in 4 different languages. High Chancellor Veltek spoke first. His crystal body rang like a bell when he moved. "Humans of Earth, we have fought long enough. It is time for peace between our peoples." Zephyrian Queen Mind Zizkith clicked her mandibles. "The hive agrees. Too much blood has been spilled. We must work together now." The Corvin representative was a floating metal sphere that spoke in a mechanical voice. "Our calculations show that continued war serves no logical purpose. Peace will benefit all species." President Maria Santos, the leader of the Human Alliance, nodded slowly. "We want peace too, but we need guarantees. Real ones." The treaty was thick with promises. No more attacks on civilian targets. Shared technology to help rebuild destroyed worlds. Joint exploration of new star systems. Trade agreements that would make everyone rich. It all sounded too good to be true. Chen watched the aliens carefully during the talks. Something felt wrong. Their words were perfect, but their body language seemed off. The Veltar crystals dimmed when they thought no one was looking. The Zephyrian drone stayed too still. The Corvin sphere's lights blinked in patterns that seemed like secret code. "Admiral Chen," President Santos called out, "what does the military think of these terms?" Chen stood up slowly. "The terms look fair on paper, Madam President. But I have concerns about verification. How do we know they will keep their promises?" Chancellor Veltek's crystals chimed softly. "Admiral, your suspicion wounds us. We offer our friendship freely." "Friendship," Chen repeated. "That's a human word. What does it mean to you?" The alien leaders exchanged quick glances. Queen Mind Zikith spoke up. "It means working together, helping each other, sharing our strengths, and trusting each other," added the Corvin sphere. President Santos smiled. "Then let's sign this treaty and start building that trust." The signing ceremony was broadcast across human space. Billions of people watched as their leaders put their names on the document that would end 3 decades of war. Cities erupted in celebration. Soldiers wept with relief. Children who had never known peace danced in the streets, but Chen did not celebrate. She returned to her ship with a heavy heart. Her second-in-command, Commander Jackson, found her in her quarters an hour later. "You don't trust them," he said. "It wasn't a question. Should I?" Chen asked. "They hate us, Jack. We've been killing each other for 30 years. People don't just forget that overnight. Maybe they're tired of war too. Maybe they want peace as much as we do." Chen looked out the window at the alien ships. They were already leaving, heading back to their home worlds. Maybe. Or maybe they're planning something worse. Over the next few weeks, the peace process began. Alien ambassadors arrived on human worlds. Human diplomats traveled to alien planets. Scientists started sharing research. Engineers worked together on new projects. The first alien cultural center opened on New Tokyo. Veltar crystals grew beautiful formations in public parks. Citizens came to admire the alien art and learn about crystal culture. Similar centers opened on dozens of human worlds. Zephyrian biodomes were built on agricultural planets. The aliens claimed they wanted to study human farming methods. They brought thousands of their smaller drones to help with the research. Human farmers welcomed the extra help. The Corvin Collective offered to upgrade human computer systems. Their AI technology was more advanced than anything humans had. Within months, Corvin software was running on space stations ships and planetary defense networks across human space. Trade flourished. Alien goods flowed into human markets. Strange foods, beautiful art, and amazing technology became common sights in human cities. For the first time in decades, life was getting better instead of worse. Dr. Marcus Rivera worked on the frontier colony of New Geneva. As a xenobiologist, he studied alien life forms. The peace treaty gave him new opportunities to work directly with alien scientists. But something bothered him about the Zephyrian researchers. They asked too many questions about human biology. They wanted detailed scans of human bodies. They claimed it was for medical research, but Rivera wasn't convinced. He sent reports to Admiral Chen about his concerns. The aliens were learning too much about human weaknesses. They were mapping human genetics with suspicious thoroughness. But his warnings were ignored by politicians who didn't want to rock the boat. Meanwhile, in the depths of space, the three alien leaders met in secret. Their races had been enemies for centuries, but they had found something they all feared more than each other: humanity. The humans are too dangerous, Queen Mind Zizkith clicked. They adapt too quickly. They learn too fast. If we let them grow stronger, they will dominate the galaxy. Chancellor Velthek's crystals rang with agreement. They think differently than us. Their chaos threatens our order. They must be eliminated. The Corvin sphere calculated probabilities. Our infiltration proceeds as planned. In 6 months, we will be ready to strike. The humans will never see it coming. The three alien powers formed a secret alliance. They called it the Shadow Triumvirate. Their goal was simple: the complete destruction of humanity, but they would be patient. They would use the peace treaty to get close. They would learn human weaknesses. They would place their agents in key positions. And when the time was right, they would strike with overwhelming force. The humans celebrated their peace, unaware that their new friends were planning their extinction. The betrayal was already in motion, and soon the galaxy would burn once more. 6 months had passed since the peace treaty was signed. Admiral Sarah Chen walked through the corridors of Luna Station, humanity's largest military base near Earth's moon. Everything looked normal, but she couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. The aliens had kept their promises so far. No attacks, no violations of the treaty. Trade was booming, and human colonies were rebuilding faster than anyone had expected. But Chen had learned to trust her instincts during 30 years of war. She stopped at a window overlooking the docking bays. 3 Veltar crystal ships sat alongside human vessels. Their crews moved freely through the station, supposedly here for joint training exercises. But Chen noticed how they always seemed to be near important computer terminals. "Admiral," called out Major Williams, her intelligence officer, "we need to talk privately." They walked to Chen's office, a small room with thick walls that blocked electronic surveillance. Williams closed the door and activated a white noise generator. "What is it, Major?" Chen asked. "It's about the alien exchange programs. I've been tracking the people they've sent to our worlds. Something doesn't add up." Williams pulled out a data tablet and showed Chen a star map. Red dots marked human colonies with alien visitors. "Look at this pattern. They're not just going to random places. Every single alien group has been assigned to colonies near military bases, communication centers, or strategic resources." Chen studied the map. "Could be a coincidence." "Maybe, but look at this." Williams swiped to a new screen. "These are the requests they made for base tours, technical demonstrations, and facility access. They're asking about our defense systems, our command structures, our backup communication networks. Cultural exchange," Chen said, but her voice was flat. "That's what they call it. Admiral, they're mapping our entire military infrastructure, and we're letting them do it because of the peace treaty." Chen sat down heavily in her chair. "What else have you found?" "The Zephyrians are the worst. They claim they're studying our agricultural methods, but their biodrones are taking genetic samples from everything. Not just crops, animals, plants, even soil bacteria. And they're particularly interested in human DNA. For medical research," Chen said, repeating the official explanation. "That's what they say. But Dr. Rivera on New Geneva has been sending reports. The Zephyrians are asking questions that don't make sense for medical research. They want to know about human immune systems, toxin resistance, biological vulnerabilities." Chen felt ice in her stomach. "And the Corvins? Their AI assistance program is the most dangerous. They've installed their software on thousands of our systems. They claim it's to help with efficiency, but Major, those programs have access to everything. Navigation systems, defense networks, even our nuclear arsenals. Show me, Chen ordered. Williams pulled up another screen showing the network connections across human space. Green lines showed normal human communications. Red lines showed Corvin AI interfaces. They're in everything, Admiral. And the worst part is their programs are learning. They're studying how we operate, how we make decisions, how we fight. Chen stared at the web of red lines spreading across human territory like an infection. How did this happen? Didn't anyone check their software? They did. But the Corvin technology is so advanced that our people can't fully understand it. We're taking their word that it's safe. Chen stood up and began pacing. What about the other military commanders? Do they know about this? I've tried to brief them, but most don't want to listen. The peace is too popular. The politicians love the trade deals. The civilians love the new technology. Nobody wants to hear that our new friends might be spying on us. And what do you think they're planning? Chen asked. Williams was quiet for a moment. I think they're preparing for war, Admiral.
But not the kind we fought before.
This would be a surprise attack, hitting us when we least expect it. They'd know all our weaknesses, all our defenses. It would be over before we could respond. Chen stopped pacing and looked out the window again. A Zephyrian transport ship was docking, probably carrying more agricultural researchers. How long would they need to prepare something like that? Hard to say. They've been gathering intelligence for 6 months. If they wanted to strike all our major worlds at once, they'd need perfect coordination. Maybe another 6 months to get all their pieces in place. Chen made a decision. I want you to start preparing a classified report. Everything we know about their infiltration activities. But keep it quiet. If they have access to our computer systems, they might be monitoring our communications. Yes, Admiral. But who are we going to send it to? Most of the government thinks I'm paranoid. Send it to the people who matter, the ones who remember what war really looks like. On the frontier world of New Geneva, Dr. Marcus Rivera was having his own suspicions confirmed. He stood in his laboratory looking at the latest batch of samples the Zephyrians had collected. Dr. Rivera, called his assistant, Jenny Park. The aliens are here for their weekly briefing. 3 Zephyrian drones entered the lab. They looked like large insects with metallic shells and compound eyes. Their leader, who called itself Worker Prime 7742, spoke in a buzzing voice. Dr. Rivera, we are ready to review this week's biological data. Rivera nodded and pulled up his research files. We've completed the analysis of the soil samples from the northern continent. The bacterial diversity is remarkable. Excellent. And the human genetic markers you collected last month? Rivera paused. I'm sorry, what human genetic markers? The drone's eyes glittered. From the medical volunteers? For our comparative biology project. Worker Prime, we never discussed a comparative biology project, and I never collected human genetic samples. The 3 drones exchanged rapid clicks in their own language. Then Worker Prime spoke again. Forgive us. We meant the agricultural genetic markers from the modified crops, but Rivera wasn't fooled. He had heard them clearly the first time. They wanted human genetic data, and they had expected him to provide it. Of course, he said calmly. The crop genetics. I'll have that ready for you next week. After the aliens left, Rivera locked his lab and began writing an urgent message to Admiral Chen. But as he typed, he noticed something strange. His computer was running slower than usual, and there were background processes he didn't recognize. He checked the system logs and found connections to external networks, connections that hadn't been there before the Corvin AI upgrade 3 months ago. His computer was sending data somewhere and he had no control over it. Rivera deleted his message and left the lab. He would have to find another way to warn Earth about what he was discovering. Meanwhile, across human space, the infiltration continued. Feltar crystals grew in beautiful patterns in city centers, but they also pulsed with electronic signals that mapped human communication networks. Zephyrian biodomes produced amazing crops, but their drones also collected detailed biological data about every human world. Corvin AI systems made everything more efficient, but they also reported everything back to their masters. The aliens were patient. They smiled and made friendly conversation while they prepared for humanity's destruction. They attended cultural festivals and scientific conferences while they planted the seeds of betrayal. On distant alien worlds, massive fleets were being assembled in secret. Weapons were being tested. Invasion plans were being refined. The Shadow Triumvirate was almost ready to reveal their true intentions, but a few humans were starting to notice the pattern. Admiral Chen wasn't the only one who felt uneasy. Some colonists reported strange behavior from their alien guests. A few scientists questioned why the aliens needed so much detailed information. Several military officers wondered why alien ships always seemed to be near strategic locations. The warnings were there, scattered across human space like puzzle pieces. But most people were too busy enjoying the peace to put the pieces together. They trusted their new alien friends and ignored the growing signs of danger. The betrayal was coming, hidden behind smiles and friendship. And when it arrived, it would catch humanity completely off guard. Unity Day had arrived. Across human space, 17 billion people celebrated the first anniversary of the peace treaty. Cities were decorated with lights and flags. Children who had never known war laughed and played in the streets. It was supposed to be the happiest day in human history. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the UHS Retribution, orbiting Earth. Below her, the planet sparkled with celebration lights. She should have been happy, but the warnings from her intelligence reports made her nervous. Something felt wrong about this day. Admiral, called Lieutenant Morrison from his communications station, were getting reports of some kind of technical difficulties from the outer colonies. Communication delays, system glitches. Chen frowned. What kind of glitches? Defense grids going offline for maintenance. Navigation systems running diagnostics. Nothing serious, but it's happening on multiple worlds at the same time. Chen's blood went cold. All at the same time?
Yes, ma'am.
Started about an hour ago. Chen grabbed the ship's intercom. All hands, this is the Admiral. Battle stations. This is not a drill. The bridge crew looked confused. Battle stations? On Unity Day? During a peace celebration? Admiral, Morrison said hesitantly, are you sure? The aliens will think we're being hostile. Morrison, send an immediate alert to all human fleets. Tell them to prepare for the lights went out. Emergency power kicked in a few seconds later, bathing the bridge in red light. But something was very wrong. The main computer screens showed error messages. Navigation was down. Weapon systems were offline. Even the basic life support systems were struggling. What's happening? Chen demanded. Chief Engineer Rodriguez climbed onto the bridge, his face pale. Admiral, it's the Corvin AI systems. They've turned against us. Every computer with their software is either down or fighting us. Chen felt her worst fears coming true. Can you shut them down? We're trying, but they're fighting back. It's like they have a mind of their own. Which I guess they do. Morrison's voice cracked as he spoke. Admiral, I'm getting emergency signals from across the system. Something's happening everywhere. Through the main window, Chen saw new stars appearing in the sky. But they weren't stars, they were engines. Hundreds of alien ships were dropping out of hyperspace around Earth. The Zephyrian fleet came first. Massive bioships that looked like giant insects, their hulls pulsing with organic light. They moved in perfect formation, like parts of a single giant creature. Next came the Veltar crystal ships, their diamond hulls reflecting sunlight in deadly rainbows. They arranged themselves in geometric patterns that hurt to look at directly. Finally, the Corvin Collective arrived. Their shape-shifting vessels reformed themselves into massive weapons platforms as they took position around the planet. Dear God, whispered someone on the bridge. Chen grabbed the emergency communicator. This is Admiral Chen to all Earth defenses. We are under attack. Repeat, we are under attack, but there was no response. The planetary defense grid was silent. The orbital weapons platforms weren't responding. The other human ships in the system were dead in space, their Corvin-infected computers turned against them. Admiral, Morrison shouted. I'm reading weapons charges on the alien ships. They're targeting population centers. Chen could only watch in horror as the first bombardment began. Beams of energy lanced down from orbit, striking major cities on Earth's surface. New York, London, Tokyo, Sydney. The lights of civilization began to go out one by one. The same thing was happening across human space. On Mars, the shipyards exploded in brilliant flashes as Veltar crystal weapons tore through the construction facilities. On Luna, the military bases vanished under Zephyrian bioweapons that dissolved matter at the molecular level. Dr. Marcus Rivera was in his lab on New Geneva when the attack began. The Zephyrian drones he had been working with suddenly turned hostile. Their friendly clicking became angry buzzing as they advanced on him with sharp claws extended. Wait, Rivera shouted. "We had a treaty. We were working together." Worker Prime 7742 tilted its head. Treaty was deception. Peace was lie. Now comes purification. Rivera ran for the door, but more drones blocked his path. Behind him, he could hear explosions as orbital bombardment began hitting the colony. Through the window, he saw Zephyrian bioships descending like metallic locusts. Across the galaxy, the same scene played out on 17 human worlds. The aliens had planned this perfectly. They struck during the peace celebrations when humanity's guard was down. They used the access they had gained during the cultural exchange to disable human defenses. They coordinated their attacks to hit every major human population center at exactly the same time. On the bridge of the Retribution, Chen watched her world burn. But she wasn't ready to give up. "Rodriguez, can you give me manual control of anything?" The engineer was working frantically at a maintenance panel. "I've isolated the navigation system from the main computer. And I think I can fire the engines without the AI. What about weapons?" "No good, Admiral. The weapon systems are too integrated with the Corvin software." Chen made a desperate decision. "All hands abandon ship. Get to the escape pods." "That's an order." "Admiral, what are you doing?" Morrison asked. "Something stupid. But maybe it will work." Chen sent her crew away, but she stayed on the bridge. She manually activated the ship's experimental quantum drive, a prototype system that could tear holes in spacetime. It was supposed to be used for faster travel. But Chen had a different idea. She aimed the Retribution directly at the largest cluster of alien ships and activated the drive. The effect was immediate and devastating. Space itself twisted around the ship, creating a localized gravitational anomaly. 3 Zephyrian bioships were caught in the distortion and crushed instantly. A Veltar crystal dreadnought shattered like glass. 2 Corvin platforms simply ceased to exist, but the quantum drive overloaded, sending the Retribution spinning into deep space. Chen was thrown against the wall as the ship tumbled out of control. When she regained consciousness, Earth was gone. The ship's sensors showed nothing but empty space. She was alive, but alone. And behind her, the massacre continued. The betrayal was complete. In the span of 6 hours, human civilization was crippled. Earth's population was reduced by half. The other 16 core worlds suffered similar devastation. Billions of humans died in the coordinated attack, but not all of them. On the outer rim territories, beyond the reach of the alien infiltration, human colonies received the emergency broadcasts. They watched in horror as their homeworlds burned, but they were too far away to help. Admiral Jackson, Chen's former second-in-command, was leading a patrol fleet near the edge of human space when the attack began. He received Chen's final transmission before the Retribution disappeared. "All human forces, this is Admiral Chen. The aliens have betrayed us. The peace treaty was a lie. They planned this from the beginning. Evacuate what you can, save who you can. And remember, they showed us no mercy. From here, no mercy remains." The message spread across the surviving human fleets. In mining colonies on distant asteroids, human workers heard the news and wept. On exploration ships in uncharted space, crews watched the recorded footage of burning cities and felt something change inside them. The aliens had succeeded in crippling humanity. But they had also awakened something they didn't understand. Something that had been sleeping during the peaceful months. They had awakened humanity's capacity for absolute war. The Shadow Triumvirate celebrated their victory. In their secret communications, they congratulated themselves on the perfect execution of their plan. Humanity was broken, scattered, defeated. But in the outer darkness beyond their sight, the survivors were gathering. They were counting their dead, learning from their mistakes and planning their response. The aliens thought they had won. But they had only taught humanity a valuable lesson. In a galaxy full of predators, mercy was a luxury they could no longer afford. The war was about to begin again. But this time it would be different. This time humanity would fight with the cold fury of the betrayed. This time there would be no mercy. 6 months after the betrayal, humanity had changed. The species that once sought peace and cooperation was gone, replaced by something harder and colder. In the asteroid belt beyond Mars, Admiral Sarah Chen stood in the command center of Haven Station, humanity's new military headquarters carved from solid rock. Chen had survived the destruction of the Retribution, rescued by a mining ship 3 weeks after the quantum drive accident. Now she bore scars across her face and hands. reminders of the day the aliens showed their true nature. But the scars on her soul went much deeper. "Admiral," called Commander Jackson, now her second-in-command again. "The latest refugee ships have arrived. That makes 200,000 survivors processed this week." Chen nodded without looking up from the tactical display. The hologram showed the current state of human space, or what was left of it. 17 core worlds were now under alien occupation. The survivors had fled to the outer rim, to mining stations and research outposts that had been too small for the aliens to bother with. "What's our current military strength?" Chen asked. 400 warships of various sizes, 3 million trained personnel, maybe 10 million civilians total across all our remaining territories. Chen's jaw tightened. Before the betrayal, humanity had controlled 300 worlds with a population of 17 billion. Now they were down to scattered outposts and refugee camps. And the aliens? They've divided up our former territory between them. The Zephyrians took the agricultural worlds. The Veltar claimed the industrial centers. The Corvins control the research stations. They're strip mining everything of value. Chen finally looked up from the display. Her eyes were cold as winter space. "Good. Let them get comfortable. Let them think they've won." Jackson frowned. "Admiral, I know you want revenge, but we're outnumbered 1,000 to 1. Maybe we should consider what? Surrender, exile, living as refugees for the rest of our lives? Maybe finding somewhere else to settle. The galaxy is big. We could start over far from here." Chen's laugh was bitter. "You think they'd let us?" "Jackson, they didn't attack us for our territory or our resources.
They attacked us because they were afraid of what we might become."
They won't feel safe until every last human is dead." She gestured to the tactical display, showing the positions of alien fleets throughout former human space. "Look at their deployment patterns. They're not just occupying our worlds. They're hunting down survivors. Every week we lose another refugee convoy to their patrols." Jackson studied the display and saw she was right. The alien forces weren't behaving like occupiers. They were behaving like exterminators, so what do? He asked. "We give them exactly what they were afraid of," Chen replied. "We become the monsters they said we were." Chen called a meeting of all surviving human military leaders. Admirals, generals, ship captains, and colonial governors gathered in Haven Station's main conference room. Many bore the same kinds of scars Chen carried, physical and emotional wounds from the day of betrayal. "Ladies and gentlemen," Chen began, 6 months ago we learned an important lesson about galactic politics. There is no honor among aliens. There is no such thing as a fair fight. There are only predators and prey." Admiral Hassan, who had escaped from the Mars shipyards, raised his hand. "Admiral Chen, with respect, what are you proposing? We don't have the numbers for a conventional war." "You're right," Chen agreed. "We can't fight them the way we did before. The old rules are gone. The old ethics are gone. We're not representing human civilization anymore. We're fighting for human survival." She activated a holographic display showing captured alien technology, broken pieces of Zephyrian bioships, fragments of Veltar crystal hulls, and damaged Corvin AI cores. For 6 months, our best scientists and engineers have been studying this wreckage. We've learned things about our enemies that they never intended us to know. Dr. Elizabeth Park, one of the rescued researchers from New Geneva, stood up. "Admiral, we've made some remarkable discoveries. The aliens' greatest strengths can also be their greatest weaknesses." Chen nodded for her to continue. "The Zephyrians are a hive mind," Dr. Park explained. "They share thoughts and emotions across their entire species. But that means if we can disrupt their mental connection, their entire military becomes helpless." She brought up a new display showing Zephyrian brain scans. "We've developed a psychic weapon that targets their neural frequencies. One properly placed transmitter could drive an entire fleet insane." General Morrison spoke up. "What about the Veltar?" "Their crystal technology is based on harmonic resonance," Dr. Park continued. "Every crystal has a natural frequency. We've learned to produce counter-frequencies that can shatter their hulls like glass. We've weaponized sound itself." "And the Corvins?" asked Admiral Hassan. "Their AI systems are incredibly advanced, but they're also completely logical. They can't understand human unpredictability. We've developed computer viruses based on paradoxes and impossible logic. Their own intelligence becomes a trap." Chen smiled for the first time since the betrayal. It wasn't a pleasant smile. "In other words, we've learned to turn their strengths against them. But that's just the beginning." She activated another display showing new ship designs. The vessels looked wrong somehow. organic curves mixed with crystal structures and flowing metal surfaces. "These are our new warships," Chen announced. "Built with hybrid technology reverse-engineered from all three alien races. They're faster than Corvin ships, tougher than Veltar crystals, and more adaptable than Zephyrian bioforms." Commander Rodriguez, the chief engineer, explained the details. "We call them Fury-class battleships. They can change their shape in flight, repair themselves using biotechnology, and think faster than any alien AI. Each one is worth a dozen conventional warships." Chen brought up the next part of her presentation: troop equipment that looked equally alien and threatening. Our ground forces are being equipped with Zephyrian bioarmor that adapts to any environment, Veltar crystal weapons that can cut through any material, Corvin tactical computers that predict enemy movements. "We're becoming more than human." Admiral Hassan looked uncomfortable. "Admiral, this technology, it's changing us. Some of my crew members have been using bioimplants for months. They're starting to think differently." "Act differently." "Good," Chen replied coldly. "The old humanity was weak. It trusted aliens who smiled while planning our genocide. The new humanity will be harder to kill." She moved to the final part of her presentation, operational plans that made the room fall silent. "Operation Righteous Vengeance begins in 1 month," Chen announced. "We're going to retake our worlds one by one, but we're not going to liberate them. We're going to make examples of them." The tactical display showed target lists that included civilian populations, refugee camps, and cultural centers. Admiral Hassan said quietly, "Those are non-combatant targets. We're talking about genocide." Chen's scarred face showed no emotion. "They committed genocide first. They killed 17 billion humans in 6 hours. They're still hunting down survivors. They started this war, but we're going to finish it." "But if we become like them," Hassan began, "then we survive." Chen cut him off. "And they don't. That's all that matters now." The room was quiet for a long moment. Finally, General Morrison spoke up. "What are our target priorities?" Chen smiled that cold smile again. "We start with their most remote outposts. Places where they feel safe. We hit them fast, hard, and without warning. We use their own technology against them, and we make sure there are no survivors to warn the others." She gestured to the star map showing alien positions throughout former human space. "They scattered their forces because they thought we were finished. They never expected us to fight back. That overconfidence will be their downfall." Dr. Park raised her hand. "Admiral, the Psychological Warfare Division has prepared some additional weapons. Fear-inducing biotoxins that target alien nervous systems, nanobots that can infiltrate their computer networks, memory-altering viruses that will make them forget how to fight." "Excellent," Chen replied. "Use all of it. I want them to understand what terror feels like." As the meeting ended, Chen looked around the room at her officers. They had all changed since the betrayal. Their eyes were harder, their voices colder. They had learned to think like predators instead of peacekeepers. Humanity was no longer the idealistic species that had once sought harmony with the galaxy. The aliens had killed that humanity on Unity Day. What remained was something angrier, smarter, and infinitely more dangerous. The Shadow Triumvirate had feared human potential. Now they were about to discover what that potential really meant when directed by absolute fury and unlimited by moral constraints. The hunt was about to begin, and this time, humanity would be the predators. 2 years had passed since humanity's rebirth in fire and fury. The galaxy trembled as human fleets moved through space like death itself, leaving only empty worlds and silent stars in their wake. Admiral Sarah Chen stood on the bridge of the HNS Vengeance, her new flagship, as it approached the Veltar homeworld of Christhia. The ship around her was a masterpiece of hybrid technology, part human engineering, part alien science, and entirely devoted to destruction. Its biometal hull could heal damage in seconds. Its crystal matrix weapons could punch through any known defense. Its AI systems thought faster than any organic mind. "Admiral," called Captain Martinez, her tactical officer, "we're receiving surrender offers from the Veltar High Council. They want to negotiate." Chen didn't look up from the tactical display showing the massive alien fleet protecting their homeworld. "Ignore them. Open a channel to all human forces." Her image appeared on screens throughout the attack fleet. 200 human vessels that had materialized from hyperspace like avenging angels. Her scarred face was calm, but her eyes burned with cold fire. Today we finish what they started, Chen announced. 2 years ago they taught us that mercy is weakness. They showed us that trust is suicide. They demonstrated that in this galaxy, only the strong survive. On the bridge around her, human officers worked with inhuman efficiency. Bioimplants enhanced their reflexes. Neural interfaces connected them directly to their ship's systems. Genetic modifications improved their endurance and intelligence. They were no longer entirely human, but they were still human enough to remember the betrayal. We have learned their lessons well, Chen continued. We have become what they feared we might become. Today, we show them the price of awakening humanity's true nature. The Veltar fleet moved to intercept them, beautiful crystal ships that sparkled like jewels in the light of their sun. There were thousands of them, far outnumbering the human force. But numbers no longer mattered as they once had. Dr. Park, Chen called to her science officer, activate the harmonic disruptors. Dr. Elizabeth Park, now more machine than woman after extensive biomodifications, smiled with artificially perfect teeth. With pleasure, Admiral. The human ships began to emit a specific sound frequency that resonated through space itself. It was a weapon born from studying captured Veltar technology, refined through 2 years of experimentation, and powered by humanity's absolute determination to win. The effect on the alien fleet was immediate and terrible. The crystal hulls of the Veltar ships began to vibrate. Cracks appeared along their surfaces. Within minutes, the beautiful alien vessels were shaking themselves apart. Their defensive formations are collapsing, reported Martinez. They're trying to retreat. Don't let them, Chen ordered. I want total destruction. No survivors. The human fleet advanced like a pack of wolves, their hybrid weapon systems locked onto every fleeing alien ship. Crystal matrix beams carved through enemy hulls. Bio-guided missiles pursued their targets with relentless hunger. Nanobotic swarms dissolved alien armor at the molecular level. But Chen wasn't satisfied with just destroying ships. She wanted to send a message that would echo across the galaxy. Launch the planetary bombardment, she commanded. The surface of Christia, the ancient Veltar homeworld, erupted in flames as human weapons rained down from orbit. Cities that had stood for millennia vanished in seconds. Crystal gardens that had taken centuries to grow were reduced to dust. The entire planet's surface was being systematically sterilized. As the bombardment continued, Chen opened a communication channel to broadcast across all known alien frequencies. Her message would be heard by every species in the galaxy. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the Human Defense Force, she announced. 2 years ago, 3 alien races formed a secret alliance to exterminate humanity. They called it the Shadow Triumvirate. They thought we were a threat to galactic order. The camera focused on her scarred face as explosions lit up the planet behind her. They were right, she continued. We are a threat. We are the greatest threat this galaxy has ever known, not because we are evil, but because we remember. We remember every friend who died believing in alien promises. We remember every child who burned on Unity Day. We remember every moment of the 30-year war that ended with lies and betrayal. The planetary bombardment reached its climax. The entire surface of Christia was now a sea of fire, visible even from space. The Veltar Empire is ended, Chen announced. Their homeworld is ash. Their fleets are destroyed. Their colonies have been cleansed. This is the price of betraying humanity. She paused, letting the image of the burning planet speak for itself. The Zephyrian hive mind learned this lesson last month, when we shattered their neural network and drove their entire species insane. The Corvin Collective learned it 6 months ago when our logic viruses turned their own AI systems against them. Across the galaxy, alien leaders watched the broadcast in growing terror. The humans had done the impossible. They had not just survived the coordinated attack, they had turned it into motivation for something far worse. Some of you may wonder if there is room for negotiation, Chen continued. If perhaps humanity can be reasoned with. If mercy might be possible. Her smile was colder than the vacuum of space. Let me be clear, there is no mercy. There will be no negotiation. There will be no peace until every species that participated in the Shadow Triumvirate has been eliminated from existence. The broadcast ended, but the message was clear. Humanity had evolved beyond the naive species that once sought galactic friendship. They had become something more focused, more efficient, and infinitely more dangerous. On the bridge of the Vengeance, Chen received reports from across the galaxy. Human fleets were systematically destroying the last remnants of the three alien empires. Refugee ships trying to flee were being hunted down by biomechanical vessels that could track them across light years. Surrender offers were being ignored. Peace negotiations were rejected without consideration. "Admiral," reported Commander Jackson, "we've received communication from the remaining galactic powers, the Alteran Republic, the Nexus Federation, even the neutral zones. They're all offering to mediate a ceasefire." Chen's laugh had no humor in it. How generous of them! Where were these offers when we were being exterminated? They claimed they didn't know about the Shadow Triumvirate's plans. "And now they're afraid we'll come for them next," Chen observed. "They should be." She turned to address her bridge crew. "Send a response to all alien governments. Tell them that humanity is no longer interested in galactic politics. We have one goal: the complete elimination of every species that betrayed us. When that goal is achieved, we will withdraw to our reclaimed territory. But until then, any alien vessel that approaches human space will be destroyed without warning." The message went out across the galaxy, and the response was immediate. Alien fleets began withdrawing to their core territories. Trade routes that had operated for centuries were abandoned. Entire sectors of space became no-go zones as species tried to avoid attracting human attention. But the damage was already done. Humanity had demonstrated something that terrified every intelligent species in the galaxy: the ability to learn from betrayal and become stronger because of it. The humans had taken the aliens' greatest strengths and made them into weapons. They had absorbed alien technology and improved it beyond its creator's imagination. They had studied alien psychology and learned to exploit every weakness. Most terrifying of all, they had done it without losing their essential human nature. They were still creative, adaptable, and unpredictable. But now those traits were focused by the cold fire of absolute vengeance. As the last Veltar city died beneath orbital bombardment, Chen allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. The species that had planned humanity's extinction was now extinct itself. Their beautiful crystal homeworld was a burned wasteland. Their empire was scattered ash, but her work wasn't finished. There were still Zephyrian colonies to cleanse, Corvin outposts to destroy, alien leaders to hunt down. The betrayal had been complete, and so must be the response. "Set course for the Corvin core systems," Chen ordered. "It's time to finish what we started." The human fleet turned away from the burning planet and disappeared into hyperspace, leaving only silence and death behind. Across the galaxy, alien civilizations watched and learned a new truth. Humanity was no longer a species to be underestimated or betrayed. They were predators now. Apex predators that had learned to hunt with the cold efficiency of machines and the burning passion of those who had lost everything, and found something harder in its place. The age of human innocence was over. The age of human dominance had begun, and in the ruins of former alien empires, a new order was being written in fire and steel. Never again would humanity trust. Never again would they show mercy to those who had shown them none. And never again would the galaxy make the mistake of thinking that humans were anything less than the most dangerous species it had ever known. The war was over. Humanity had won, and the galaxy would remember the price of betraying them for 1,000 generations to come.